this, like we found a solution here, and I know it's hard to see. I want to take a breath right now. I drink pre-workout right now, like a whole thing. Cause I'm like, I'm tired. Now I'm like, you know, it's okay. It's YouTube energy, right? You know. What's up, guys? Happy Monday. One of the things I wonder is if we're ever gonna not have notepads. I wonder what the next transition or progression is gonna be so we don't notepad ourselves. Vivian's back. So I got this guy, Zach, messaged me, said it'd be really cool if you did like post-mortems on the build. Like, obviously Vivian's one of these like early completion cars that we've done. I mean, essentially a full build using 4 feet of frame, front kit, and some back tubes where the fuel tank is. Wanted to say cell, rolled tank, fuel is, you know. But what he mentioned is like talking about like things that worked well, things that were fails, or things that could have been done differently, like things we needed to change. And I think that's a great idea. Like, I'd love to go through that and kind of go through like lessons learned, all the above. And what we'll do is Vivian's back for, I mean, essentially we'll get into this, but the motor and a bunch of updates, and then she's going to be at Speed Metal May 27th. I don't know if this episode will come out before or after that. But it would be nice if we had time to close out, or at least go to Speed Metal, film her complete. But, you know, when we get her back together, I do want to film that, and I want to talk about that. And I think we'll just do that with every project, at least running driving projects. And, you know, if they go out and test and figure out, you know, if we do have lessons learned or what we would do differently. And I started making a list of stuff with that, but there's not a ton of stuff. There's just like a couple things. There's nothing like catastrophic. More or less like running the business lessons, how much time it takes to reassemble, or how much time it takes to put things together and plumb things, and that last leg. That was really my biggest like dig on this thing, of just how much time it actually takes. But right now, what I want to do is I just want to go through what we're going to do, what we're in process of doing, what to expect for this update. All right, things to think about here. Eric wants to race this thing a couple times. He's got this bug now. They bought the old Camber Granger, nice put together single cab race truck, and he's been racing that with Zach. Zach's got a skill set for racing, which is awesome, and he wants to be able to do just a couple, maybe 3 races a year. We also have talked about taking this and possibly next Mint, him and I drive it from here, Southern California, and drive it up to Las Vegas, race the Mint, and drive it home, just to do it as a proof of concept. I think the car is more capable than we think, and we can do stuff like that. On that note, race stuff. So I put race stuff, but siren, horn, spare drive shaft, window nets, secondary door latches, number plates, bumpers, and then things we also want to cover is oil cooler, the engine, steam lines, and the light package. In no particular order, and this is more or less, I'm just going to intro this stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We can look at the front bumper that's in the shop, and then studio, and then we can just kind of touch back when we're complete with this thing. So it's just like, it's out here because we have one other car in here that we were filming today, and then we'll swap out and it'll be back in progress for tomorrow. So one thing that happened, this thing was going through motors like a lot. The first motor was the most solid one, and it was decked. I don't know if it was ported, but it was just, that was a proper LSX 454 that did have some work done. Then that one, engine failure. Second one, engine failure. And then let's stay on the second one. I was the last one to drive this thing when it failed. So we were at King of the Hammers. If you go to the King of the Hammers episode, I briefly talk about it with RJ. I took Izzy out. We were out pretty far over by Rock Pile and Lucerne, and then I got a point where I was like, I want to drive it, and Eric's been pretty good about that. So we already knew it had some motor problems going on. I got in there, I took Izzy for a short ride, and right as things started getting good and we started going through bigger stuff, I checked up on something, probably going 80 or something. I checked up before it dropped and G'd out. And then as it dropped and G'd out, lost all power, and the motor wouldn't start. So essentially, whoever smelt it, dealt it kind of thing. I was the last one in it. I felt I needed to take some responsibility with that. So I told Eric that if he, sort the motor out, figure out what you're going to do if you're going to either repair or replace, and then I'll take care of putting it in for you on my dime. So that was one thing on the list that needed to happen. That's a Moruzzi. It's a 454 LSX. It has Frankenstein heads, right? Yeah, Frankenstein heads, big ass Frankenstein heads. It's fully built, all forged bottom end, all the stuff. So that is estimated to be 140 more horsepower more than your stock LSX 454, which is, I think, is 620 or 620 and change horsepower. So that thing will be super pipey. It also has a cam in it. One of the things, and this was a post-mortem thing, is we put two coolers in the back. Just your typical 14 by 14 style single fan cooler, one per side. This is like a spacey thing, and I don't know. Somewhere in translation, we lost the idea to run an oil cooler and a trans cooler. I don't know what happened with the plumbing. That's why it's so weird. It's like an anomaly. And that thing's never had an oil cooler. So part of that, I don't know if those engines can even run without an oil cooler, but I'm sure that did not help with the engine issues and the failures. So moving forward, we have I got a pretty large oil cooler. It's a 21 inch wide, 3 fan, maybe by 7, and it fits perfectly in the void here. So right where all your wiper cowl, your venting here would be, it fits up in there. So it actually doesn't really go past this much, maybe 1 inch. And then when the hood's on, this venting will actually feed the cooler. So that's going in. Obviously a remote oil filter, trophy truck style filter is going on that side. It's nice because all the plumbing for the oil will just be up front. It's not going to have to run any kind of lines out back. And that's our big mechanical thing here. There was some stuff with the wiring that Eric wanted to change, but that's not really our department, and we're not handling that. I think it is going to get a complete rewire, a lot more tightened up. It's getting Holley, so it was running a stock ECU style setup. It'll be all Holley now, a different display, but that's after we're done here. So that's kind of your mechanical side. The race stuff, some of the stuff is mandatory, right? So running window nets, we'll have to come up with a mechanism in there that's legit, that also ties into the door, and then we'll give a pattern to PRP. PRP can make the nets for the truck. Secondary door latches are a necessity, and that's just something that on the inside of the door, just so you're not relying on the one latch, but on the inside, we'll have something tagged in where you can access it with your harness on. You can access it from outside the car too. So probably in the sweet spot here. We'll just do something nice. Ooh, that's kind of cool to see in there. See the engine through there. That's the joy of the removable panels. There is no welded stuff, so you can literally take whatever panels you need to out of the car and get to anything. Siren, you know, he talked about a horn, but I just got him a big siren, like a Wayland siren. And that'll do all the duties for racing. Steam lines, number plates, bumpers, light package. Okay, so another thing, when Eric first, I don't know if it was in one of the early episodes, and I won't make you find that, Joey, but Eric was like, he saw Cody Campbell's F100 and he's like, I really like the number plates. Like, can we just put like a number plate in the back? And I'm like, hey, if you're not racing this, no. Like, I'll do stuff that looks cool, but we're not putting number plates on something if it's not going to be a race vehicle. I can't get behind that. So now it's his lucky day, and he gets some number plates back here. So I'm going to do something really nice back here, something that flows with the truck. I already have like a vision for that. That stuff is exciting stuff for me, and it's very instant gratification. I can like bang that out quick, and it looks sick. The bumpers, so that's kind of what's under construction. That's pretty weird looking right now. So originally what we had, this thing, I know the grill's not on here, but what we had is like this area, the bumper only went out pretty much to where these outrigger tubes are. And it only went to like the span of the grill. And it was just, you know, it was a couple inches out from the grill, but it was only enough to tab for the light package that was on the front. And that's it. So it didn't actually span the whole way to protect the grill, because it's pre-runner bumper. It's not like you can build a pre-runner bumper that's a big, robust tube shape, but like to run a clean, streamlined hit of design on this thing, we just had it minimal, and it had like nice kind of contoured caps on it. And that stuff's gonna go away now, because he wants to have something that can take, you know, either check up on a truck, if he has to love tap a truck, anything like that for racing. We need something more than that, and something that can protect some of this work. Like, this is strong, but it's also 3/4 tube, and it's not built for racing. It's built as a pre-runner. It's supposed to, you know, it's like a aircraft. It's not supposed to have impact. So something to protect the grill, something that's going to kind of protect the fiberglass the best it can be. I know fiberglass turns into kind of consumable when it's being raced, but this will all make sense. And what this is finding a solution. So what we did is literally figured out, put the grill on here and kind of figured out like, how can we make this bumper situation not look like an add-on? And again, like we'll tap into this on the next update. But what this is just like an extension of this roll, this radius here. It just keeps going, and then it drops off with a cap right where the grill is. And what's gonna happen here is there'll be like weld bungs in here and bosses. So he doesn't have to run the whole front pusher if he doesn't want to. So the whole part's like a removable piece, 1 bolt, 2 bolt, 3 bolt, 4, and it has structure coming out that's like a secondary push bar, and then it kind of comes out, and there's an upper one, and it's all tied together and triangulated. And there's also another tube that goes from here all the way back here. So everything's tied in, it's strong. But you know, think about this too. A lot of like race chassis platforms, you don't have this radiator like big and robust up here. You kind of have your outrigger tubes that act as like another support for your bumper that come out here, and they draw through. That was the first thing we looked at, and there's just no way to do it, because like everything's nicely packaged. And that's the thing, like if you're gonna go back on stuff and then you wanna like set it up for race, then we would have built it different. So it's really about trying to still get wins without having to either cut the shit out of all this stuff or make stuff look weird where it's like an afterthought. And I think we got that with the bumpers, so when it goes on, you'll see that. The same for the rear. We haven't started the rear yet, but it's gonna be the same package. Like I think it's easier for the front to have this streamlined radius roll. It still matches the grill. We'll still have lights here. And then the whole front portion, the pusher, if you will, or the race part of the bumper will be removable. The back, a little more complicated. I think we'll have to cut some of the tube work back there. Like there's kind of a dovetail that comes off the back. There's the fuel tank and like the bedside if you're looking at it from the side. And then there's like tube work kind of coming off the top profile, and it dives back down. So I think to not make that look like an afterthought or not make it look too complex, we'll probably have to cut it and sleeve it and come up with something that really makes it look like it was just part of the truck. So I have on here spare drive shaft. If you go back, I bet on earlier episodes, like when we were building just the chassis, we talked about having a provision or a mounting location for the spare drive shaft, and it's under the car. I got that idea from Robbie Wood's Diesel. When I climbed under there at SEMA with him, I saw that he had his drive shaft mounted like in the chassis. So if you like scooched under and you were like looking up at like your upper links and your housing, the drive shaft's like right there, and it makes the most sense because it's like you're gonna change your drive shaft in that location. So why not have, you know, your spare in the same geographic area on the truck? So we have like a provision, like a space cut out for that. So we'll make it under there. You won't even see it on the truck. The only time you'll see your spare drive shaft is when you need to install your spare drive shaft. The impact mount the impact will probably do some of that, and then we'll have to I think we're gonna have to put a couple more tool bags in, just for obvious reasons. He's got the ones in the footwells, but he might just need some more spares. And by spares, maybe even like hard parts, starter, alternator, power steering pump, things like that. So that's stuff to consider. One of the biggest additions that we're gonna do is we're going to run Baja Design's light package. Since I've started business, I've always been a Baja Designs guy. Eric's had a relationship with Casey, and it's been cool because like we've been able to put the cars on the grass at Sand Sports Show. But besides any of that, like I've had a good relationship with Baja Designs and James's Frontier, and like everything I work on and everything I build, I don't put anything else but Baja Designs. So having them on this program with Vivian is just how it should be. We're gonna run a complete light package on this. LP9. So the one thing I keep trying to scumbag Eric in is a roof rack, like not like the B pillar or the C pillar mounted like light bar, but something here hanging down, you know, with a bunch of LP9s on it. I can't push him on that right now, but I did go hard and I got all LP9 big round lights for the bumper. And then we're gonna replace the driving lights with LP6s. And then I kind of have a nice assortment on here of like LEDs, and S1s, same for the back. So we'll be like, this whole thing will be laced with Baja Designs. I think they make the best light there is. So that's kind of the whole program. Like for us and the brand and the company, like I try to run what I think is optimal. I don't sell my ass for any product just because they would pay me or sponsor me. I don't believe in shit like that, and I'm never gonna do shit like that. So it's the same thing with Baja Designs. That's the best light you can get, and it's nice that we finally have done that, because I was just, you know, if Eric has a relationship with the other light manufacturer and he wants to run those, it is what it is. I'm not gonna like strong arm him on that, but it's nice to go full circle and be able to transition over and run something that I believe in. So Baja Designs, thank you guys. Thanks for supporting me, period, with James's truck and just anytime you know, Baja Designs is just, that's premier, and they rip, and their quality rips, and customer service and their support. So thank you guys. I see you guys. Thank you. One of the other things too I was really concerned about, and I think we talked about last time, was like leaving some of the chassis and especially the interior cage, like all the chassis work inside, raw. I just had my concerns about this thing getting rusty, and it just props to Eric, because like there's no rust at all. Everything is completely maintained and in perfect condition. So good job, Eric. One of the things that kind of makes Vivian unique is the fender cut on the front. Put a picture. The trimming I had to do, she is, I want to say 96 overall on the front. Outside tire to outside tire. The thing with this is center mount is, there's not much scrub. Like a beam will like scrub in heavy and camber in, and kind of, even if your fender, you know, if your tire sticks out way more than your fender, usually the beam, the cycle pattern and the geometry of a beam kind of gets your camber to tuck into the fender. And this thing just scrubs right up, and there's so much up travel, and since it's body dropped, you're really going past like all the body lines. So the fender cut was like this crazy gnarly thing we had to do that's cut specifically to the up travel of the truck. And Eric's like gone back and forth about having fenders built for it that are the proper width that still retain the beautiful body line, the dent side. So I have Mario set up. I'm a little nervous about our time frame with that. We'll see how it goes. You guys can just find out, but Mario's committed to getting these things shaped. We're going to use these fenders kind of like James's bedside, to getting these things shaped out both sides, and then we're going to bring them to McQueen. McQueen's going to use those and pop molds off of them, and then we're going to have like probably a 12-inch front fender, because I think the fenders we were using is a 6 to 7-inch bulge, seeming normal and above average. But we need something like a 12, just a white Zilla kind of thing. So he'll get that going, and I think the car will go to speed metal just with no glass on it. That's it right now. Just check back on this thing. I just wanted to, like, it's here, wanted to update you guys. I think it's cool to see it like this, and then we get to see the next version, and then I can walk through all the details of what I talked about right now when it's complete. So we will be on a grind. Something to think about this. This is another like time management thing. I don't want to wait till the last minute with this thing. We have several weeks as of right now to get this done, but I also don't want to be working on this for several weeks. I want to be able to get this thing running complete. It doesn't need to have all the lights wired yet. It just needs to have the oil cooler fan working, and we can just put that on the battery or something. Just something to get it to speed metal, but it does need to have a dyno tune. I want to bring it to Alex, a New Era, at least street dyno it, get it on just a really conservative tune. And then I want to put some miles on it, and that's the same agreement with Eric. So I need to drive it home a couple times. You know, probably a 23-mile trip home. So do that a couple times. If I have one weekend before speed metal, I want to bring it to a Cars and Coffee or like a Malibu, you know, Supercar Sunday or something of that genre, where I can just get an early morning rip and show it off somewhere before it gets all dirty and goes back out in service. So that's it, you guys. Stay tuned for this thing. Like, comment, subscribe.